Hello, friends. I'm Stephan Dyer, and I'm recording my first ever English comedy special live from Toronto on February 24. Get your tickets now at stephandyer.com.
Welcome to the Stephan Dyer Podcast, my people.
Hello, my people. ¿Cómo están, damas y caballeros? Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Stephan Dyer Podcast, where I welcome people with remarkable stories for amazingly vulnerable conversations. My name is Stephan Dyer, former banker turned comedian and lifestyle entrepreneur. I am in Costa Rica right now recording this, and today we have an incredible guest. We have the unbreakable Faris Hytiaa. But before we dive in, let me share a quick personal story about the lowest point in my career. It's late 2017. I just quit the bank in Toronto, and to be fair, I was struggling with comedy. On the other hand, I just proposed to my girlfriend, now wife, and we decided to buy an apartment. So I head to my old bank, Scotiabank, for a mortgage. Now, despite having the down payment and the ability to pay together, our application for a modest $350,000, practically peanuts in Toronto's market, gets instantly rejected. I was crushed. It was me and Narzely's dream. The fact that I did not have a job letter and that Narzely was not a permanent residence at the time made our case too complicated. That's when I met Joe Purewell, mortgage agent, our podcast sponsor from now on. That's when Joe came into our life. Joe literally saved us. We didn't know there was other ways to buy a home other than the 5 big banks. There's other banks that do mortgages too. I didn't know that. Not only did we buy our first apartment, but we later sold it to buy a bigger one when my son Liam was born. Now, the best part, Joe's team speaks Spanish. So if you're a newcomer or Latino dreaming of owning your home, even if you're Canadian, call or WhatsApp Joe right now at +1 905 330 6090. We all have really complicated situations, and with Joe, you can ask all those tricky, awkward questions without the fear of judgment. He will offer you the best rates and solutions for our unique journeys. That's Joe Purewell at +1 905 330 6090. Or if it's easier, just look at the show notes, and it's all there, my friends. Now, let's talk about our incredible guest. Faris Hytiaa is a Sudanese-Canadian stand-up comedian in just 2 years of stand-up. Faris was featured at Yuck Yucks, Just for Laughs Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, and Sled Island 2022. Faris then partnered with TELUS Story Hive to film TELUS's first ever comedy special, Send Help, released in February the following year. After releasing the special on YouTube in 2023, Faris was named as a new face of comedy with Just for Laughs, showcasing at the festivals in Montreal and Toronto. He's toured all over Canada and has worked with major acts including Dulcé Sloan from the Daily Show with Trevor Noah and Neal Brennan from Netflix and the Chappelle Show. You can hear Faris on the Just for Laughs Originals album, Substitute Teacher Energy, now playing on SiriusXM and available on all streaming platforms. And now, enjoy this episode with Faris in 3, 2, 1, go. Welcome to the Stephan Dyer Podcast. I have here the unbreakable, the unmistakable, the highly capable, the invincible Faris. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. I love that Wu-Tang intro. This is awesome.
Yes, sir. 8:30 in the morning in Calgary, and I'm waking you up like that.
No, man. And I've never been happier. This is, I think, the best I've ever been woken up.
I love it. Pure comedy talk. We're going to jump right into it. So I met you at Just for Laughs. We were both in the festival. You were doing New Faces. I loved your set. I love your calm delivery. Super witty, super original, which no hate to other people and other comics, but I I find that like your delivery is very original. Your material is very original. And I guess in many ways, like I know you're very talented and successful, but I think that's what New Faces kind of looks for. And you were one of my favorites, that's for sure. When did you get the news? Where were you? Were you excited?
Oh man, yeah. This is how you know like how much of a game changer I think comedy like or like these big festivals can be. And first that's very sweet of you. Thank you for yeah. Likewise. I'm no Stephan Dyer, but you know I'm working on it. I where was I? I was I was on my friend's couch in Edmonton when I got the call. Like, and my friend, by the way, not doing great financially either. I was it was a rundown couch. It
Yeah.
was, it was one of my best friends in the world too. He'll be there soon enough. But, I was on my friend's couch in the morning when, the booker for Just for Life, shout out Neal Brennan,
Yeah, Neal
called.
is great.
And I was actually a lot. I think I probably looked a lot like I do right now, just bags under my eyes, trying to get my bearings. And yeah, he's just like, "Hey, do you like are you busy?" I'm like, "It's the morning, and I do comedy in Canada. I'm not busy." Um, and he goes, "I just wanted to invite you to Montreal to as a new face of comedy." I'm like, "Yeah," and it's one of those you just wake up.
Yeah, man.
It's skip coffee that day. Yeah, you're just buzzing. You know, you're everything's kind of bouncing around your head. You're like, "Oh my God, is this even real? Did I just get pranked?" You're like looking at your like call history. It's like, no, that's what it says. He called. It says it was him. So like, yeah.
It even changes how you walk outside. You're walking outside your friend's apartment, and you're like, "Why is nobody saying anything to me? Why am I getting no pictures, paparazzi?" Like it makes you feel amazing, eh?
Well, it's not even. It's more like because you have to keep it a secret.
Oh yeah.
You have to keep it a secret. So like, I think it was like I was like walking. I had like the weight of the world on my shoulders. I was like, oh no. I was like, I can't tell anybody, but I want to tell everybody.
Yeah.
Uh, and then thank God, like I had a 3 hour drive a 5 hour drive that day. Well, it was July, 3 hours. Yeah, so I'd moved to Calgary by then. But yeah, it was. So I was just in my car, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a list of everyone I trust and tell all of them.
Yes.
I'm just like in the car calling people and like crying. I can't believe I actually got it. And yeah,
What was
but
the what was your showcase like? What was your process? So for people who are listening to the podcast, and my audience is a lot of Latinos, newcomers, a lot of comedy fans, and they don't know what so I was part of the showcase here. What was the day like for you? Was your showcase in Calgary? Did you go with your greatest hits? Or were you like, I'm going to not try, but like go with some that may not be popular just because I wanted to have a different point of view, original, different, so that I can like stand out? And how did you prepare? Were you nervous? Did you smoke up a little bit? Did you have a few drinks before? Like, what was your process before?
well, at the time, I was living in Lethbridge, Alberta, which is like a small town near like the U.S. border in southern
Okay.
Alberta. It's like I don't know, to put it into perspective, is like we just like celebrated hitting 100,000 people, uh, like last year. we were we're like, guys, we did it. We're a city. So it's like not yet. We're not yet. I don't think 100,000 to qualify, but it was a very so I had to commute up to Calgary to do showcases. So like thankfully, like the last couple of years, like I've been getting like I'll be put on these showcases as yeah, just out of Lethbridge, but I would have to go and do them in Calgary. And yeah, so I think like I went up and yeah, I kind of took a swing that day. I ended up doing it was my set was one joke. So
Wow.
it's like a 7-minute set or whatever.
What was it about?
Um, it's about how I think that when slavery ended, it left like a hole in society in the West. Just like it was so important, like into like the fabric of like it's how we built North America. So
Oh
I feel
yeah.
like like when it ended, it left something like an emotional thing. And my theory is that we filled it with dogs. So that's what like the bit
Oh yeah,
is
I
that
think a part of that bit was at just on the Just for Laughs Instagram, right? Or was it on your Instagram? I saw
yes,
it.
yeah. So I ended up doing it in Montreal also. So like I showcased with it in February, and then I ended up just doing it in Montreal. Because I love like taking a chance. I love putting
Let's
my whole career on
go.
it. I love taking the biggest moments of my career and gambling with them. So if you want advice on what not to do, don't do that. But do
Yeah.
just like there's like I had very good sets that were very strong and personal that I could have done. And I was like, no, 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 no. I want to say the craziest thing I can possibly say. And
Did it
yeah,
kill
take
that
every
day in the showcase? Did it do well?
oh, it crushed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It ends up it's one of those jokes where it's like it either bombs super aggressively because it takes everything that North
Yeah.
Americans love the most with the part that they're most ashamed of and pits them against each other. So it's one of those where it's either, like applause breaks galore or we hate you. We're gonna like we better not see you outside. Um, and thankfully, like I showcased like at a comedy club, and it's one of like Canada's like premier comedy clubs, the Laugh Shop. So they tend to love just like comedy. So for them, they're like we're on board, and and then it worked in Montreal too. So
Oof. Amazing, man. Congrats. No, I saw you perform during JFL Toronto here. I loved your set, but I want to take it back a little bit. Going through your bio that we heard at the beginning, it seems like you had a very rapid growth, and not taking any credit, like to the contrary, giving you more credit. Because in just 2 years of stand-up, you've already done Yuck Yucks, Just for Laughs, Vancouver, Slit Island. What do you think? I know it's hard to draw conclusions because it's you talking about your career, but what do you think that you did different to have a fast rise compared to people that may have been doing 10 years stand up and still haven't got the call, you know?
well, I honestly I think there's a lot of luck involved. I think there's a couple things that kind of contributed to that. Like I started stand up in Lethbridge, so I started in like a small place. There's not a lot of comics there. There is a club, and then I think it was like I maybe done I think like 8 sets before COVID hit. So I started
Wow.
like 6 weeks before COVID. Then we got locked down for whatever it was. In Alberta, we had like this gap, but it was like we were locked down for like 4 months. It wasn't that long, our first one. And then when we reopened, the club is trying to run and they can't afford to pay anyone other than headliners. So they stopped bringing in hosts and middles from out of town. So they needed locals. I had 5 minutes of I had a loose five, right? And they're like, "We need you to host. We're not getting people from out of town." So then I had to learn how to do crowd work and how to turn over material really quickly. And they just threw me in the fire. There's 8 people in the audience. By the way, they hate black people. Figure it out.
Oh my God. That's
They hate
insane.
Yeah, so I was just in the grinder immediately. And so I think that's really, and then for me, I've always been one of my mantras, one of the things I live by don't ever let them see you sweat. So for me, it's like, I'm just, okay, all right, this is the hand I was dealt. And I fell in love with comedy in the 6 weeks I was doing it. I just want to do it. I don't care where I am. I don't care who it is. I'm going to figure it out. And then I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And then I had, 30, 45 minutes of stage time every weekend. You're right, doing just hosting shows.
Yeah.
And in difficult rooms. So
Yeah.
that was the thing. Like with COVID, we had it was very especially at the time. I think the clubs expanded a lot now, and whatever. But at the time, it's it was a boys' club. So it's just old white dudes, and they want to hear you bitch about your ex-wife. And if that's not what you have, it's going to take a lot for you to win us over. So. Yeah, man, it was just that. I think any comic thrown in that situation with any level of a work ethic, I think develops very quickly.
Sink or swim. I love it. And
Yeah.
I want to get your insight on how did you not fall into the trap of bitching about women or this or that, which is the material that a lot of these people want to hear. And I'll give you my experience. So when I started doing stand-up in 2015 to the end of 2014, it was me and my business partner who we worked together at the time. I used to do Vine back then, sketch comedy online. And that's how, that was my beginning in comedy, I guess. He used to do street storytelling in Colombia. And one of our friends invited us to an open mic, Spanish open mic, where you could do music or poetry or whatever you want. And he asked us to do stand-up. We'd never done stand-up. For whatever reason, we went on stage together. Don't ask. And we were on stage together, and we did a show every 2 months for the first 3 years. And then we quit our jobs in 2017. But just delusional, pretty much. but hey, here we are. Now, when we started doing these shows, I had never done stand-up. And because we started in Spanish in Toronto, most of the audience was from all of the audience was 13, 15 countries, from Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico, Costa Rica, everywhere, because we all speak Spanish, just with a slightly different accent, but we all speak Spanish. And they I wanted to it's not that I wanted to, but my stuff is slightly more observational, I would say. And it wasn't relatable to them. They wanted to hear about the mother that would hit you with the flip flop, and they wanted to hear about sex, and they wanted to hear about I don't know, parties back home, and all these specific. Yeah, and something that is relatable. And my business partner, who is a great storyteller, to his credit, would just kill every time. And I would just fucking struggle, because I came here when I was 15. I moved around a lot when I was a kid. I didn't really grow up in Costa Rica or in Latin America, because I kept moving around. And I was always an immigrant in each of these countries, because I was never from there. Even in Costa Rica, I grew up in a Peruvian household. My whole family is Peruvian. So I never felt local, and I just as a survival mechanism, those first years, I had to develop some sort of material that would connect with them to not fucking die in each of these shows. How did you decide to not develop a little bit of to throw them a bone, to just connect with them a little bit? Or you were just fuck this, fuck everybody, I'm gonna do my own thing, I'm gonna die anyways, because I don't have that much experience anyways? What was your train of thought in going into these shows at the beginning?
Well, okay, man. That's actually really cool. I didn't know a lot of that about your come up. But obviously, we've talked a little bit, you've talked about your Peruvian upbringing and stuff, but I didn't realize how much you've moved around.
Yeah.
That's and because I see that in your stand-up, obviously going through clips and all that, you're oh, Venezuelans are like this, and Costa Ricans are like this, and Colombians are like this, and it's really fun to watch. That's
Thank you, man.
Cool to see. And then I'm sorry if this interrupts it. And
no, go ahead.
But I wanted to like, where did the English side start? Like of your stand up? Was that like after then in Toronto, and you're just like, oh, I'm gonna try this in English too?
Yeah, so I took my first ever actually my first ever stand-up workshop at the end of 2016, right
Mhm.
before quitting my job in 2017. Because we started doing stand-up in Spanish, and that's all I had done. Pretty much we did like, just to be like very transparent, I did like probably like 30 shows in 3 years.
Mhm.
Because there was nobody to do shows in Spanish. We created the scene in Spanish,
Yeah.
and then I practiced my public speaking and got feedback that I was funny at Toastmasters. Since 2012, when I worked at the bank here, I worked at Scotiabank for 7 years, and there was a
Yeah.
Toastmasters public speaking club, and I started in 2012, and I would get feedback any speech that it was funny, and that's why I ended up trying stand up. But pretty much, I did my first ever show in English, like my level 1 grad show, in September of 2016, and that's when I kind of started. But because we needed money, because we had quit our jobs, we've focused hard on the Latino niche. So I pretty much probably get like, I don't know, 30 sets in English a year. Uh,
Mhm.
and then I do like triple that in Spanish or more.
Of course. Yeah. Okay. Damn, man. And now you're about to tape an hour in English.
Yeah, because
Right.
I've been doing for 7 years.
Yeah.
I've been doing English, but like not as much. And now I've kind of identified a niche where in September I went to Costa Rica right before I met you to the beach and did a show for expats in English. I did 2 shows in English, one in Spanish, and we do a lot of corporate comedy shows here in English. And
Right.
like I would say 60-70% of my Spanish can be translated. So now
Mhm.
I'm doing like everything that I've built and putting it in an hour. Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible. Oh, okay. So you're going full like Sugar Sammy type thing. Like, you're gonna
Yeah.
flip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah. If you've seen Sugar Sammy, he's unbelievable. He flips between English and French.
Yeah, exactly.
What to say? You're gonna rire, I think, is that you're gonna laugh. Um, and then he'll come in between. So that's your man. I can't wait to see that. That's gonna be amazing. I think that's what I need. Like I minored in Spanish, so I feel like that'll be the amount of Spanish I think I can work with.
Well, come and do our show. You get whenever you're in Toronto, you can do our show, and we'll give you 5-10 minutes in Spanish.
Oh no, I can't do 5-10 minutes in Spanish. No. 5-10 minutes. That's how long it takes me to get 2 sentences out. Um, I'll be like, ¿Cómo se dice? That's gonna be my whole set.
Slavery and dogs, esclavos y perros. That'll be your set.
¿Tienen perros?
Perros,
Perfect.
yes,
Escúchame.
yes.
No, but yeah. I okay. Now I've blanked on the question that you asked me before.
So yeah, how did you not give in to having to do that material in front of this white? Because I remember when we did the Just for Laughs party, the Just for Laughs / Netflix party that one night, you told me a story about how you went to this small town in Alberta and like somebody fucking yelled something at you and you roasted them, and then the club owner didn't allow you to come back or something, or you roasted the club owner or something.
Oh yeah, that's more of a fun story. That one
Yeah.
was because like that set I was killing. So like that was it was like a New Year's Eve thing. Like that was whatever. Like a guy heckled me, I roasted him. It happened to be that he was the owner of the only venue in that town that books stand-up comedy. So then effectively I just couldn't go back to that whole place. But I had a great set. Everyone loved me. They wanted me to come back. It was just the owner that was and even the owner loved me too. It was after the fact, people kept on telling my jokes back to him. So they kept saying everything I
Oh,
said to him.
yeah.
Over and over for like weeks after the show, and then he was like, "You're done." We're at first he was like, he stopped booking comedy. He stopped booking comedy altogether for months, and
Wow.
then And then a different comic kind of reached out, what's going on? Then he kind of told him what the problem was. And then he's like, okay, what if I just don't book him? Can we bring shows back? And then he's like, all right,
Yeah.
fine. So
Well, that's insane, man.
but that's been like that's been a positive story. Like at least like behind the scenes, at least with comics and all that, everybody's been like, that's
Yeah,
pretty dope.
100%.
So
Did you have any
yeah,
negative experiences at the initial club where you like during the pandemic?
yeah. That's where I had a lot more issues. That's where I got heckled a lot. That's where like it could have been like whatever. It could have been stuff that was racist. It could have been stuff that was obviously like we're doing jokes about COVID and all that. And so and then I guess like I mean not to go too much into it, but like I was pretty like progressive about COVID. So it was like, you know, I'm gonna wear the mask. I'm gonna whatever. I got vaccinated, all that stuff. And not that I was overly judgmental about it, but like, yeah, it was definitely, it would build a lot of tension where people would whatever. But I think I'm a stubborn person, largely. You know, I'm very, I tend to have a lot of conviction, a lot of times also like not justifiably. I just kind of do. I think it's why a lot of us do stand up is where it's not because we're reasonable. You know, it's not it takes a certain kind of person to do it, but yeah, it just like that, those jokes weren't fun for me. I couldn't write them well. Like the jokes that they would like if it came to my brain and it was honest, I would do it, and that would often become my bridge. So like I would have like I'll have like a dumb dick joke or two, like I think it's hard not to, but that often became the bridge. The dicks connected, and then you would start doing what you wanted to do. But like, yeah, I was like, I know that I can make my experience funny. I know I can figure it out here. And in my brain, it was like, I don't want, like, I knew from the beginning, I didn't just want to do stand up in Lethbridge, Alberta.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want it to start and end there. So for me, it's like, okay, if I can make what I want to do work here, then it's already going to be airtight by the time I get out.
Yeah.
And that was my mindset, was like, I'm going to make it out of here. I'm going to make it past here. And I want to be ready for the world. I want to be ready for you know, the bigger places when I do it. And then my head is just like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure it out, which yeah, now looking back, it's like, that was crazy. That was insane.
You have to be fucking crazy.
Yeah.
In many ways. Like, I look back and I'm like, I quit a senior manager wealth management job at Scotiabank, downtown Toronto, the pride of my family, to tell jokes in Spanish in a country that does not speak Spanish.
So we got a country that doesn't speak Spanish. Their second language is French, and they don't speak that either. So, like, you're speaking a language that's not even on the list.
Yeah. You got to be like almost delusional, and also like when I saved up a little bit of money to buy myself a year, you know, I always tell that I was 29 at the time. I did not have kids. I did not have a mortgage. I was not married. And I was like, well, fuck it. This is the time to take risks. And, you know, when you have immigrant parents or parents who are not from here or like it took a while for me to give up this thing that they were really proud of, because they paid for my education to come to Canada. We moved around a lot. I became one of the youngest senior managers ever at Scotiabank. And like my family was fucking proud because Scotiabank is something that exists back home. Scotiabank is like the largest international bank in Latin America, you know? So mi hijo en Scotiabank, Toronto, and you know, so But then I was like, a part of me was like, what's my fucking excuse? You know, like if I was living in Ecuador or El Salvador or even Costa Rica, I'd be like, oh no, I would quit my job. But like if I lived in a city that is like top comedy, like New York, LA, Toronto, Chicago. If I was there, okay, I'm there now. What's my fucking excuse? Well, if I blah blah blah, and like I narrowed it down to what's the worst thing that can happen? You know, what's the worst thing that can happen? And the worst thing that can happen is that, first of all, I was already a permanent resident. That day I quit, I quit. I also quit, applied for my citizenship. So that was check. I was going to get the passport.
That's locked in. Yeah.
And the worst possible scenario is I got to work at Starbucks. That's like the best. That's fucking amazing. That's the epitome of privilege. You know how many people are fucking eating shit back home and they wish they could work at Starbucks and tell jokes at night. So, no excuses. So then I did it. Me and my business partner, we quit at the same time. And now I thought all the people that had come to the shows were going to come again. But as you know, your friends stopped showing up after the fourth show. They're like, hey, you got to do 5 minutes. I already know your jokes. So it forces you. It really fucking forces you to become a businessman, marketing, relationships, follow-ups. And I thought that when I quit, because I was like not happy at the bank towards the end. And I thought that when I did something that I loved, I was going to be happy. But as soon as you quit your job, you realize, oh, fuck, I'm still responsible for my happiness. Now I don't have any excuse, you know. I'm still responsible for my well-being and my so you got to do all this shit. Now you don't have any, because the happiness will last you like 48 hours. You know, oh, I quit my job. But then it's like, okay, then actually it lasted us longer, because the day we quit, the next day we went on a 3-week tour through Miami, Costa Rica, and Colombia. And looking back, I'm like, man, we had fucking balls, because we sucked at comedy. We spent all this money that we probably needed to survive later. But it actually, like, you need to be crazy, because you did the networking. I learned a lot from other comics. I bombed in other markets, learned so that I didn't go and bomb again, and it was great. It also taught me what it took. What did you work in before, and when did you make the jump?
My last job, I was a disability support worker. So I worked with like adults with intellectual disabilities. I think it was like the beginning of last year when I started to realize I might have to leave it. I was just commuting for everything. So like Lethbridge is like 2 hours south of Calgary, 2.5 hours south of Calgary. All of the work in Alberta is the road. So that's where comics make money here. So like, say like in a place like Toronto, a lot of the time you don't even need to leave Toronto to do, you know, several shows a night. And then paid shows on weekends and all sorts of venues. In Alberta, you make all your money doing some random brewery in some random town you've never heard of. That's where the money gets made. There's like not really any media here. Okay. So the path to like royalties and like TV money is a lot longer for us in Alberta. So you just have to commute to whatever bullshit town. So and then they know how I feel. Grand Prairie, I'm looking at you. It's a rough kind of situation. So like I was just doing the commutes. Yeah. So there were times that I'd go 4 hours there and back for 7 minutes, you know, for $20, whatever. There was a lot of midweeks. Like I go to Calgary and, you know, drive 2.5 hours in the dead of January and 2.5 hours back for a free guest spot, you know, and just like whatever. I need the stage time.
That's the grind.
And So and then eventually the road trip started getting bigger. You're opening for me somewhere 3 nights. You got, you know, come through. And that's when so I started now having to like book time off and all of that stuff. And then I remember the beginning of last year, I had used all of my paid time off, all of my unpaid time off. and all of my mental health days and my sick days for the year. I
Yeah.
used them all by the third week of like February. So yeah, it was legitimately, it was like a month and a half into the year, and I'd used everything. I was barely working. And then they were like, look, you can't, like, either we have to move you down to a casual employee. We can't keep you as this unless you can keep working 40 hours a week or 30 hours, 35 hours, whatever it was. And so then that's when I went down to being a casual employee and then just picking up shifts as I went. So I would just take shifts whenever I was in town, and now have a lot more freedom to do the road whenever I wanted. And then it was that summer where I went full time in stand up. So that I went like all the way. Now stand up is my primary source of income, and I work 1 or 2 shifts a month at that job. In case the dream dies, I still have that job. So I would like, I would, and kind of just do it that way. And then this year, I finally quit. It was actually after Montreal. It was after I signed a manager. We're talking it's November. This was, I think, August.
Yeah.
I like fully quit. I haven't. I hadn't worked in almost 2 months, and they were like, "Look, we should have fired you." but but like, we like you. We know you're chasing something you love. So I mean, yeah, man. Shout out to them. They didn't fire me, and they let me quit with with dignity, and so they're like, and at least this way, you quitting means you can come back. So like, if the dream dies, don't worry. There's a disability support agency in Lethbridge, Alberta that'll happily take you back.
I love it. You know, there's I told you this at just for last, but I know about Lethbridge because there's a group on Facebook, Latinos in Lethbridge, that for whatever reason wanted to bring me like 5 years ago and do comedy there, but I think we quoted them. They're like, I don't think we have enough money to pay like $20 to bring you here. But it'd be great to bring you, but we can't pay anything. And I see them all the time on Facebook. They post all the time. And I think we're gonna go to Calgary in March to perform. So I'll hit you up and you can do your 5 minutes in Spanish, man. You're gonna I want to ask you about when you did Montreal and when you did Toronto, working with like amazing acts. Obviously, all the new faces are incredible, great people, very talented. And you do Montreal, which is the big fucking leagues. You did Toronto. It was a fantastic festival. It was actually my first time at the festival. I opened for Ariel Elias. And you worked with Dulcé Sloan. You worked with Neal Brennan. What were the big learnings for you, or what was like, whoa, fuck, this is actually happening? And what did you learn from their set? What did you learn from others that you weren't doing that now you incorporated? It could be from acts that you worked with. It could be from your new faces, or it could be from acts that you saw during the festival.
Okay, yeah, that's we'll do. So Montreal, after Montreal, I learned you don't have to yell in the theater. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the tape is out there, and it's going to be out there forever. It's okay. You can talk normal. Turns out microphones and speakers work. That's turns out technology's there. I don't know if you know that, but the technology's here. You can work a theater and not yell. But yeah, it's like you can tell from the footage of my new faces that it's like, oh, it's his first theater for sure. This guy's never done one before. Yeah. So I think that was that was the first lesson. But yeah, I think working with Dulcé and Neal, I think one of the blessings is they're both again very headstrong, very I'm gonna do me, but come hell or high water, I'm just gonna do me. and my people will come. And look at where that's gotten them. I think with Neal Brennan, it was, I think, watching him, it's his use of similes. If you know, like similes and metaphors.
Yeah, like
Yeah, using the word like. It's, I think I haven't probably seen them, like, I haven't seen a comic like lean as hard into it, and he's the way he writes them is incredible. And for me, it's always been like, I've always felt like this weird pressure of hey, don't, you can't have like a system, you can't have a formula. And then when you look at everyone that's ever done well, they've all got like a formula. Like you see it when it's Louis, if it's Chappelle, if it's if it is Brennan, if it's like any of these any great comic, Mulaney, there's a formula. You can eventually see a rhythm to how they get to a punchline. And I think with Neal, it was especially like distinct. It's so clear. And I think it was like a lesson in like, yeah, it's okay. Like you can lean, and you can lean into that. You can write jokes in a way that like, yeah, this is how I formulate things, and then the rest sort of comes together. Whereas I was always like, oh, like every joke needs to be like written in a different way and written in whatever. And then here's the thing, it's still going to, especially like once you've been doing it a few years, it's gonna dip into your own formula,
absolutely. And from Dulcé, what did you see?
Dulcé, I think that was like, I'm gonna talk about what I'm gonna talk about. This lady's talking about like American like civil rights in a theater for white people in Toronto. And it's like, I don't care if I have to spell it out, but like, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about.
Wow. Yeah.
And it crushed, right? Both of them were doing that. Even Neal Brennan, I mean, we're doing, like he's referencing like philosophers on stage. And like, you'd have to know the like specifics of how they, and it's like, no, we're going to get into it. Like, this is what I know. This is what I want to talk about. And I'm going to make this work. I don't care if I have to read their work to you. I don't care if I have to read their books to you to get to a punchline, but that's what I want to do. And so watching them both do that was really, really cool. I think with Dulcé, I think it was a little bit more like it was more like out there, where it's like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I saw a video of Dulcé with Paul and Leah at Comedy Bar with the Low Key Show today that they just posted, and she's like, what an amazing delivery! It's like, I don't give a fuck. Even her talking about the lobby episode about this guy saying, "Shut up! I'm in a call or something." Did you see the video?
Oh, no, I haven't seen that video, no.
Okay, so basically they were at the lobby of the hotel for Just for Laughs in Toronto, and Paul and Dulcé are talking, and in the lobby, there was a couple other people, I guess, but there was a guy in the lobby, and he's like, "Shut the fuck up, I'm in a call." And Dulcé was like, "Oh, hell no. You're not fucking doing this." And she was about to go up to him, and then Paul was like into it as well, and then the guy was about to like go into Dulcé, but saw that Paul was there, and she was roasting Paul as she told the story. And bowling shirt here. Her delivery is amazing. And content and everything.
Incredible. So like, that was what was really fun to see, like, because even hanging out with her, like, that's what she's like, like when we be chilling in green rooms or whatever, or like she was always like down to hang out. We go like hit up a shisha lounge, whatever. Like, this is what she's like, like it's and I think that maybe is like kind of like the real beauty of like the two of them, is like, oh, they're so them.
Yeah,
they are this isn't an act. Like obviously, it's an act in the sense that it's written and it's and performed, but it's not like they're not changing themselves for you. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing to learn as somebody, learning or coming up is you can be you. If anything,
Yes.
you should be.
Yeah. Like escape competition through authenticity. I'm fucking obsessed with this podcast by Naval. This guy Naval, he's like the founder of AngelList in San Francisco, multi-billionaire. He's like an angel investor. And he has an episode called How to Get Rich Without Getting Lucky. And it's like he does like 1 minute episodes, but he compiled all of them. And it's like a 3-hour episode. And he's like, the best way to be successful is to escape competition through authenticity. And it's like, because nobody can be Faris. No, like only Faris can be the best at being Faris, but there's a process to it. It takes work. And there's another part of it that says there's a guy called Scott Adams. I don't know if you know him, but he's the creator of the cartoon Dilbert, and he's also like a former banker, and he does the cartoons for Dilbert, multimillionaire, and he's also hypnotist. And he has a theory, like there's 10,000 skills in the world. Like there's comedy writing, running, basketball, reading, psychology, 10,000. Let's call it 10,000. But like it's too hard of a problem to be the best in the world at one thing. And for example, even if like Usain Bolt woke up like hungover tomorrow, like I'm not fucking beating this guy at 100 meters, even if I train for the rest of my life, and he says, but it's much so like being the best at one thing in the world is a very hard problem. It's just too hard. But being very good, like top 25 percentile, like very, very good at 3 things, it is much easier. And by you being authentic and chasing these things that you're interested at, you'll become very good at. And those 3 things that you're super good at, because of the unique combination of those 3 things, then you're already the best at that combination. So, but you can't unless you're authentic about what you really like. And I think that a lot of these people, and Just for Laughs has done a really good job at, I guess, and Neal and everybody have done a good job at dissecting who these are from the crowd. It's like they may not be explosive, but they're unbelievably authentic, funny, witty, intelligent, which is like what you want in a show. You don't want everybody to be like the same kind of explosive. I wanted to ask you, what did you learn from your fellow new faces? I fucking love Momo. He's going to be on the show. I loved everybody on it. What did you learn from them that not necessarily you've incorporated onto your show, but that you really like from either what they do at the show, how they carry themselves professionally, or the camaraderie that the group built? What did you learn from the group?
Oh man, well, I'll even tell you now. Like, yeah, there is stuff I'll take and incorporate into my own stand-up right now. I was like, dude, steal, not jokes. Don't steal jokes, but I steal moves from everybody. Like, I don't even. I think that's how you create your act. I, like you said, I was so lucky. Like, with everybody, like, Henry Sir was like one of the first headliners I'd ever opened for, and then we were on this New Faces lineup together. I mean, this is legitimately one of the strongest writers in the country, and it's such an awesome performer, and and I mean, I think he's just like an example of like he's one of the few Canadians like past at the Cellar that's like doing these other things. So if I mean, and he's someone who's like been capable of like writing about really difficult subjects.
Yeah, he's great.
And making that stuff work. I think it's just like that reminder that like, yeah, we can talk about anything. Like you can kind of like if you've got something to say, if you've got an honest thought about this and you're empathic about what it is you're talking about, you can talk about anything. Like this whole thing in stand-up of like, you're not allowed to talk, you're not allowed to whatever. Like I've always found that as a bit of an like a cop out, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, that's
That
not true.
robot bit that he had, the robots, was fantastic.
Exactly. Right. So he's got like, you know, just joke after joke about stuff that you're like, I did not know we were allowed to say that. And you're like, damn, that was dope.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, like he's great, and like everyone, like Natasha, Lynn Miles, Dakota Ray Hebard, like putting on like that girl lives in just the most like when we talk about like remote parts of Canada, like she's in like central like Saskatchewan, man, and she's built this entire thing. She's built like such a massive career in film and stand-up, and is again like just such a great example of like you can do this from anywhere.
Yeah. 100%.
To Brendan D'Souza, like you said, Momo is like one of my best friends, and such a great example of just being yourself. Like I'm me, I'm happy, I like I'm gonna have fun, you're gonna have fun, like we're just gonna like he can just fill a room with so much love. Ryan Williams, like one of the funniest people you're ever gonna see. Like he's just so in your face, again, so him. He's so himself. Ryan, I don't want to miss Maddie Kelly and all these people. Maddie, another person who's like figured it out in multiple channels. Like this girl's writing sketch, she's doing podcasting, she's doing stand up, she's acting, the whole thing. So it's seeing people be able to be successful in multiple areas, that like it's okay to experiment. Like they're the ones that inspired me now to like, you know, like we're writing for TV now, you know, we're working on a show, like there's like all this other stuff, and that's been kind of like I've kind of had this one track mind of I can only do stand up. I'm doing stand up. I think I'll only ever be able to do stand up. I won't be able to do anything else. And I think it's been like my peers that have been like, no, you can be good at this and you can do other things. You can have fun, enjoy yourself. You can diversify. And if anything, that's going to enhance your act. That's not going to hold it back.
What was the name? I had it. Funny Man Chris, or what was his name? The guy who has the mustache, who's not that tall,
who's not very tall. Oh, dude, yeah, Spencer.
Yeah, unbelievable, man. I'm short myself too, and I like I've heard a lot about being short, but the way this guy tackled it was just you think everything's been said and done, and this guy made me laugh so much. And the cool thing is, super kind. Everybody's super kind too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I think I've always said, like, I think anybody who really knows what work is tends to be kind.
Yes.
Well, because like yeah, if someone else is where you are, then you know what it took to get there.
Yeah, nobody hates from above.
Nobody hates from above. So it's like, yeah, if and I mean, if you are, then obviously then there's something to be said about how you got there that now makes you question how other people did. But I think anyone that's put their real time in, like everyone I think in our class has, anyone that's put their real time in will have an appreciation for other people that did that too, and will be kind and welcoming to anyone else that's trying to get there or whatever, because they'll know that getting to where they got to took sacrifice. Like it took struggle. And so yeah, it's so it was nice seeing that even where we were at. And shout out like Michelle too. Michelle Forrester was so funny, man, in Montreal and in Toronto, and yeah, really putting on for I think she was the only Montreal act like in the 10 this year. So and she's got incredible, like her sketch work is a lot of fun to watch, and she'll be on TV for a long time. So look out for that. But yeah, it's yeah, I think that was definitely, I think, a theme this year was, oh yeah, everyone here deserves to be here, knows that they deserve to be here. The industry was kind of in agreement. And I think there's always controversies. Why is this person here? Why is that person there? And this was like one of the few times where like no one had questions. Nobody.
Yeah, man, it was a very,
outside,
very,
so.
very strong class. I wanted to for such a strong class. I obviously great performances, great stage presence, but I was in love with the writing. And I think you're a very strong writer too. For people listening, obviously we have a lot of comedy lovers. What three pieces of advice would you give to people that want to get strong, like in writing? Is it taking a specific course? Is it doing reading a specific book? Is it writing every day? When do you write? What have you seen great writers do? I feel like success leaves clues. So what have you seen that great writers do that could be implemented into aspiring great writers' day-to-day habits?
Okay, well, let's think, like, yeah, I always try to, for me, like, so my process is a little bit unconventional in that sense. So I don't know how good my advice is going to be on this. But the way that I write is, I write whenever an idea comes to me. So for me, that is most days, like something will, but it's not every day. I don't just like sit and kind of force things. For me, now what I do is like, if an idea comes to me, and this is where I would get in trouble at work. Like if an idea comes to me, I stop everything I'm doing and write that down. And I stay there and I explore that idea. And then next thing you know, it's been a half hour. Next thing you know, it's been 2 hours.
How do you explore it? Are you free writing or are you sitting with it? Are you coming up with your free writing, basically?
Yeah. So I'll just write down all of the thoughts that come to me. And then the other thing too is I obsess. So even when I stop writing, I'm only thinking about that joke until I can like get it out. So I'm now distracted for the rest of my day. Whatever, like I'm so like it just gets really stuck in my head, and then every time something new comes in, a new angle, a new tag or a punchline, then like I just write it down. I like type it into my phone or whatever, and then I'll go home and try to like rewrite it, and then that's how my process will go. So sometimes that can be like 3 or 4 days I'm not writing, and then I'm writing every day for the better part of a month or whatever. So that's my process. So like for me, it's like, oh, if inspiration hits, don't block it.
Yeah, it's perishable. Take advantage of it.
Yes.
So so first, I guess, write whenever the idea comes would be to develop the writing. Any books, any workshops, any.
I think it's probably one that you've heard a lot is it's the only comedy book I've perused was the Comedy Bible. I do think for like for the Comedy Bible I should mention
Judy Carter.
There you go. So
I have it right here.
Yeah, so and I think the Comedy Bible is really good for structure. So I think it's like, oh yeah, here's a lot of angles you can take on one idea. I think it's really good for expressing that stuff. I think it's really good for like learning like little things. The rule of three is very, very like that doesn't go away. The rule of three is like, it's like the pick and roll in basketball. Like the game is going to change. It's always going to whatever. That is one of those things that will always be implemented in some way, shape, or form. No matter what. I think otherwise, yeah, I would say, what is it like? I think one thing I've heard a lot, kill your babies, you're going to write something that you like. You're going to write something that you love. You're going to say something that you love. It's going to work. And then chances are it can be better. It can be different. It can be whatever. And you got to be able to criticize self, whatever. And in an honest way, not like in a self, like hating kind of way. Where you can be like, oh, wait, there's a different way to break this down. I can go deeper into this topic. Don't stop at the laugh, I try and find a deeper place to take it. And I think you will, but you have to be willing to break down something that you enjoy, and deconstruct it. And other, I mean, I don't know how much advice that is. I don't even know.
It's good, man.
Like it's a word salad.
No, that's fantastic. I love it. Well, comedy is one of these things where you don't get a diploma after 4 years. It's like it's as a meritocracy as either you're funny or you're not that night, and you can be the best in the world and suck that one night. People are not going to laugh. I mean, obviously, if you're very famous, they might laugh a little bit more than if you weren't. But at the same time, you could be very famous, go into a room where nobody knows who you are, and you still got to win them over. So that's why I think I love it. I think we are the sick, twisted type of people that lean into that pain of torture every night, where a lot of people might not, and the majority of people are scared of public speaking. Like public speaking is like communicating effectively, let alone communicating effectively and making people laugh. So you got to be fucking crazy to do this in many ways. But I think once you pass once you're hooked, you're hooked. There's no, I don't know. There's no other way to explain it. And even,
Oh, sorry. Keep going. My bad.
No. I was just going to say, and even like, we just did a big festival here called Latin Comedy Fest, and we brought like 25 of the best Latin comics from Latin America, 3 nights. It was a big thing. And, the high is going to be amazing, and then after the festival it's like a low. Did that happen to you in Montreal and Toronto? Like,
I'm like a chronic depressive too, so like, I've had those issues all the time, and I have like emotional spikes. Like even that one was ugly. After Montreal, I was gonna quit, man. I was ready to quit stand-up after Montreal. I was like, you know what? Where am I really gonna go from here? What's gonna happen?
On a high note.
It's like, this is kind of it for me. Like I was like fully convinced, and by the way, this is like my emails are like filling up. Oh, hey, you want to come do this? You want to come do that? Hey, we'd love to sit and talk. We'd love to whatever. And I'm in my bed like, this is it. I'm done. I'm never gonna do anything. I blew the opportunity. I'm done. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna get a day job. I'm good. I got my fill. I've had it all. So the crash is nuts. I think personally, like, at least, I found at least one of the biggest triggers of depression for me is just an extreme emotion. And I was the happiest that I had ever been. I'd taken this thing that I love and achieved something in it. That messed me up pretty good. So.
And how did you, now that you have this self-awareness about you, how do you mitigate it a little bit so it's not the low, it's the high? You can't control the highest of highs, I guess, unless you can like purposely not do drugs and not get wasted when you're in that high. You can kind of like mitigate the high, but how do you control the low? Is it exercise? Is it meditation? Is it like getting busy or not going to bed too late? How do you control it? Or is there a way to control it?
Well, I think what I've learned is like, I'm going to feel it. Yeah. And there isn't really any like pretending. There isn't really any stopping it. So it's like, I'll do weird, like it's almost it's like I baby proof. So like when I know I'm doing well, I'll like clean my room. I'll change the sheets. I'll get like everything set up so that I can. Yeah, so that like all it's like putting the pillows next to the baby so that when it's rolling around, it doesn't fall off the bed.
Ooh,
I'll clean everything is basically what I'll do now. and set up my environment so that while I'm depressed, I'm at least clean and it's like I'll have a shower, I'll do all that stuff, and then I can kind of just lay there. But at least I'm not like getting dirty and gross, because then that's when I spiral.
Yes.
It's like, okay, the room's messy. Now I feel guilty because my room's messy, and then it's getting dirty, and then now I feel guilty. So
The
that's
spiral.
also, it's just like this huge like thing. So like when I know I'm about to go down, I clean everything up, and then let the crash happen. And then and then it might be a few days, whatever. And then the other thing is like, I also now feel guilty if I'm not doing stand-up. Now that it's my full-time thing, now that I have a project, I have a whole, like, I have a, like, something I'm really trying to build, a culture I'm trying to build, a base, whether it's from the perspective of like a following and people that like go out to see me, like people that support me in other ways. I have these other meetings, like I have stuff to do. So like for me, those have actually been really good. It's like, I gotta go do a set tonight.
Yeah.
I haven't left my bed, but I gotta go do a set tonight. And then I'll go and I'll bomb my dick off and then like go home.
I love it.
And it's good, right? Because then that'll happen, and then I'll feel bad for bombing. So now I start like zeroing in on like, okay, I got to fix it. Then I get absorbed by that work, and then the next day I go out, have a good set, and often, like as you said, like it's addictive. So you get that jolt that usually resets the system, and then is a lot more likely to snap me out. So, yeah. I think does that explain it?
100%. I can relate. Dude, that's because people see the videos, they see the pictures on stage, they see the Just for Laughs logo, and they have no, like, so we just did this festival, and we had so when we quit our jobs, we started teaching stand-up comedy and public speaking. So we had this like combination called public speaking through comedy. It was a 7-week workshop to speak with confidence, overcome the fear of public speaking, learn how to do stand-up, and then graduate in front of an audience at Comedy Bar. And like hundreds of students have gone through our workshop since 2017. And that's become like the new generation of Hispanic, Latino stand-up comedians here in Toronto. And 6 of them did the festival here. And I told them on the Monday after the intense week, like Wednesday to Sunday, I told them on the Monday, guys, you might feel like shit today, but just know it's normal. It's like the post-festival blues depression. And they were like, oh fuck, I thought it was only me. Thank you. It's better to eat shit collectively than to like just eat it by yourself. I love it, man. Dude, I have one last question as we close the episode, and it's the champagne question. Every guest gets this question, and it goes like this: if we were to meet a year from now with a bottle of champagne, what are we celebrating in Faris's life?
Oh God damn! Why you gotta do me like that, man? Shit.
1 year, late 2024, maybe early 2025.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, the easy out here is I already know I'm taping something that'll come out like in the middle to, I think like in the fall of next year. So it's like, you're on TV, kid. So like I know that's happening. So like that. So we can do that as is. I'm gonna be on TV. So that's new. Other than that, ideally, see, this is the problem. Like, I'm always one of those, like, maybe, I don't know if it's realism or pessimism, but I'm one of those, like, it's not a thing until it's a thing. So the hope is, well, first, it's non-alcoholic champagne. So
me too.
Sparkling juice. So we'll be splitting San Pellegrinos over, probably, I think it'll be like hopefully my TV show gets made or starts getting made. So maybe next year we're like, hey, we got funding. or we got bought, like our show got picked up.
That's good, man. Those are fantastic answers. Well,
That's
thanks
good,
to
right? Yeah. I don't know. You got your visa. You're good. Well, you went, so you're going to New York. Whatever. We'll see. But
yeah, man. That's big. That's big. I mean, being on TV is one of those like milestones that's pretty cool, and then having your own show, it's fantastic because you get that creative outlet. You can do your own thing. You have the accountability. You need to post, not you need to create, and then you get that volume, which gives you confidence, which leads to other things. So that's great, man. I really want to thank you for being here. I wanted to interview you as soon as I met you that day at Just for Laughs. So thank you so much, man, for being here, for answering, for sharing. And I know the audience is going to love the episode, man. Thank you.
No, thank you, man. It was obviously so great to meet you at JFL. I can't wait for us to work together. Like a ton more in the future, and congrats on all your success, man. You're killing it.
I appreciate it, man.
Obviously the show is great. The stand-up is great. I can't wait to see your hour. I know that's going to be awesome, and you've built such an incredible community in Toronto, and it's going to be all over South America. It's going to be all over the world soon. So you're the ghost that we're chasing. Don't
Thank you, man. Big hug, man. I appreciate it. I admire you. Love your fucking material. I hope we can perform here soon in Spanish, English, French, whatever it may be, man. Big hug. Faris and Stephan on the Stephan Dyer Podcast. Ciao, ciao.
Gracias por escuchar el Stephan Dyer Podcast. Arrivederci, my people.